what is it like being a Jamaican living in Central Florida? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today I have three great guests. I have Joan, I have Mia, and I have Wayne, my good old friend Wayne from, well, I'll let him explain. But Wayne is a busy man, and we'll talk a little bit about what he does and why he's always on the go. So, welcome, guys. How y'all doing?
I'm
Wonderful.
well, thank you.
We're doing
All
well.
right.
Happy to be here with you.
Yes.
Good, good, good. So the
Pleasure.
first question I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna start with Joan. Which part of Jamaica you come from?
I am from Kingston,
Okay.
Kingston 2 to be exact.
All right. And next, I am going to go to Mia. Which part of Jamaica are you from?
Kingston, St. Andrews.
All right. Wayne, which part of Jamaica?
Well, that's a loaded question, but I'm going to claim two places. I was born in Kingston in Jubilee Hospital, and I went to St. Mary to live at the age of 2 with my grandmother until I was 10 in a little district called Bonnygate. So I claim both Kingston and Bonnygate St. Mary.
All right.
Excellent.
As
Mhm.
a St. Mary man, my dad is from St. Mary, from a small hole in the wall called Sandside.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Sansa.
Oh, wow. All
Yes.
right. So I'm gonna go back to Wayne. And I don't think many people, if anybody knows Wayne, you know which high school he's representing. So tell us which high school you're representing, sir.
Well, I'll just correct you on that, Xavier. I went to a college. It's called Kingston College, 2A North Street, on the right side of North Street, of course, where we had great institutions near us like George's and Holy Trinity, and of course, the great Alpha. So I am proud to have spent my formative years in Jamaica at the great Kingston College.
All right. And Mia, I think you mentioned briefly.
I actually left Jamaica when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I think Joan, you had mentioned same thing. You had left really, really early. So,
About
I
10, but I did go to primary school in
okay.
Kingston. I went to Rollington Town Primary
All
School
right.
in Kingston.
Big up Rollington.
And Moko Primary, when I visited Moko for a while.
All right. Big
That's
up.
Clarendon.
So, again, Wayne, as always, I'm glad you were able to make it. He's on the road. He's an attorney. Joan and Mia, I know we'll get into it a little bit. Very involved in the community there, like Wayne. A part of the Jamaica Association in the Central Florida area. So let's dig in a little more. So, Joan, tell us just a little bit of how you got to Central Florida and the Orlando area.
Okay. First, my parents moved to England from Kingston. They moved to England, London, England, and then from there, we moved to Brooklyn, and then now here in
All right.
Central Florida.
All right. And I'm going to move to Mia. Tell us about your journey and how you got to Central Florida.
Well, I traveled a little bit before I got here. I went from Jamaica to Canada, from Canada to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, to Central Florida.
All right. And Wayne, your story, how you got there.
Well, I came to the United States permanently in 1981 after graduating high school. Moved to New York, lived in several bars, went to college in New York, re-met my wife in New York, got married. We had a child and decided that New York was not the place to be to raise a family, and was actually intending to move to South Florida, but made a stop in Central Florida and eventually ended up buying a house here and staying here, and have been in Central Florida for over 35 years.
Wow.
Mm.
So really, you have all seen the Jamaican community grow in South
Mhm.
Florida. I mean, not South Florida, in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me state this. Some of you watching are probably saying, Florida is a state. How come you just didn't do all of Florida? Well, understand this. Florida is a huge state, first of all, and there are, two huge Caribbean Jamaican communities. I should say three, but two that I'm probably going to do, and Central Florida is one of them. Um, Joan, tell us a little bit about the Jamaican community there and how you have seen it grow and some of the things that you've seen in the Jamaican community there. And I'm going to have each of you talk about that a little bit, but I'm going to start with Joan.
Well, we have a pretty decent Jamaican community here. And I became associated with the Jamaican Association in 2008. And since then, of course, we've grown and I've made a lot of good friends. And I just love my community. I love being around Jamaicans because it reminds me of home.
Okay.
And I love Central Florida because it's as close as I could possibly get to home without being there.
All right. Mia, your involvement in the community there, and tell us a little bit about the Jamaican community from your perspective.
Oh, yes. I mean, it has grown a lot. From when I first came, I didn't see as much Jamaicans at cultural events, but now it's like everywhere, especially during Carnival. You see the Jamaican flag stand out and stuff. So it's nice to see that, we really coming, stepping out and being seen more.
All
And a lot
right.
of Caribbean Jamaican restaurants are popping up as well too.
Yeah, one of my favorites, and I know I'm putting a plug in there, because it's my brethren Peter.
Yes,
I
Uncle
know him
Chang.
from down here. I'd have to say it, right? You're the best patties
Oh,
Yes,
in
yes.
the Orlando, Central Florida area. Okay.
yes,
Pacific fish,
Oh yes. Oh
curry
yes.
goat,
Oh yeah.
ackee and
Sure. Yeah.
saltfish.
and
It's all
yes.
all right. We're not going to touch on the food just yet. We'll get back to the food. Wayne. So let me also say this about Wayne. Wayne, represented the southern U.S. As a diaspora representative. So he has a wide view of everything. Tell us about the community, Wayne, and how you have seen it grown and some of the organizations you may. I know you have a radio show. Tell us about that and some of the things you involved in.
Well, for me, when we moved here in 1988, my wife and I were still in our 20s. And we found that the Jamaican community here was much older because it was made up of a lot of folks who were actually retiring from up north and moving here. So when we came in, we found that the Jamaicans here were just going about their little business quietly, not really being involved that much beyond their own Jamaican community into the wider community at large. But I can say that today, almost 35 years later, we've seen the growth. We're seeing Jamaicans not only involved in corporate Central Florida, but also political Central Florida. They've stepped out into varied leadership roles. Their children are maintaining the culture. We're seeing a younger population of Jamaicans here, and we are seeing a great growth in the business side of Jamaicans here, not only servicing their fellow Jamaicans and Caribbean people, but opening up right across Central Florida to serve the whole community. I think we're being recognized even more because years ago we started the Heads of Caribbean organizations, where basically all the Caribbean organizations met on a regular basis to compare and plan for the future, not only for events, but for involvement in the decision making in our community. And we've seen that growth and that respect. Our names are known in good places. We've had relationships with the sheriff, the city commissioners, all the important people that make decisions that affect all our lives. So we are definitely present here My role as the Jamaica diaspora representative for the Southern United States, I covered 13 states where we would advise the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in Jamaica on what's happening in our Jamaican community across those southern states, as well as work with the consulate down in Miami, which is based in Miami. And I can tell you the example from Central Florida, we're seeing it all over the region. Of course, South Florida was the mecca. So one of my goals when I to decentralize that Jamaican community.
All right, we lost Wayne. Okay, we got you back, Wayne. All right.
Yeah, so my role was really to decentralize everything from South Florida and spread it right across the 13 states. And Central Florida has played a big part. So the Jamaican community here is well respected, well known, and we have made the moves to try and put our folks in positions of influence and power here in Central Florida. Mia can tell it because she's a journalist and she's always putting things out there. And of course, the different organizations are here and they are always representing the Jamaican history, Jamaican culture, and the Jamaican interest.
Awesome. You know, I'm glad you touched on the South Florida, which is where I am, Kingston 21, as we call it, a little bit. And I'm going to pivot to Mia some because, you know, you have a magazine that covers not just Jamaicans, but you cover the Caribbean community. And what I find, and how do I say this in a way that nobody don't say, collaborative. I find it a little bit more collaborative in Orlando, the Caribbean community, a little bit more collaborative than some of the probably the other Florida areas. So, Mia, you want to talk to that a little bit and tell us a little bit about your magazine?
Well, you know, my magazine feature, you know, different individuals all over, you know, the Caribbean. And one of the things that I love to ask them is, has the culture inspired America or has America inspired the culture? And it's always the culture has inspired America. Because, you know, asking the question like, what is America's culture? They're like, I don't know. But if you ask a Caribbean or somebody international, they can tell you everything about what makes their culture, what they love about it. So, you know, we just talk about the culture, we talk about the cuisine, we talk about, you know, the history and just everything. It's like a one-stop shop, you know, so you get a variety of different things in there.
Good. So I'm going to ask, in terms of, I'm going to go back over to kind of living in Orlando. Cost of living. What's the cost of living like there? How do you compare it to, you know, some of the other places in Florida? And I'll start out with you, Joan.
Okay, well, when I first moved, the cost of living seemed pretty decent. However, now it seems to has risen quite a lot in comparison to pay. And I think we're still among the lowest paid in the country. However, our cost of living seems to be comparable with, you know, other places like New York and so on. So houses, for example, the prices have gone up so tremendously that now there's not that many affordable homes as there used to be when I first came. You know, people would leave New York, for example, and be able to purchase a home for cash, you know, because of the difference in prices. Now it's not that way. So it's gone up an awful lot, I would say. Okay. Yeah.
Wayne, any thoughts on cost of living there in Central Florida?
Well, it has truly skyrocketed compared to when we first came. It is housing expenses, especially, is really surprising to a lot of us who have remained in our homes for 30, 35 years, and to see what the new houses are selling for and what apartments are even renting for. For the younger people, it's a challenge, I think, especially if they can't get into that income bracket to afford it. And one of the things that we are encouraging our young people to do, especially our younger diasporans coming into the area, is to position themselves education wise, experience wise, so that they can really manage to live in the area. So that's part of what we do with our radio show, which is called the Global Diaspora Show. I also do another one called Law Talk. But Global Diaspora Show seeks to highlight those people who are, we call, breaking down barriers and building bridges, and just to show them an example that, you know, they can make it too, but they've got to prepare themselves, and there are people around that can help them to achieve this. But the cost of living, I am shocked at what it is right now, honestly.
So, Mia, anything to add to cost of living?
Yeah, and especially after COVID, things have really gone up. I remember years ago where, I had a 4-bedroom apartment that I was paying like 8 something a month. Now a 1-bedroom is almost like 1,200, 1,300. I'm like, what? So yeah, things have changed. Even, groceries, everything has gone, but the pay don't seem like it's moving.
All right, so going around, tell me what you love, absolutely love about living in Central Florida, and I'll talk to you Central Florida, and I'll say the Orlando area. So I'll start with you, Joan. What do you love?
I love the weather. I'll be honest, some people think it's too hot, and sometimes it does get pretty hot, but I'd rather that than be shoveling snow any day of the week. It's nice to be able to get up in the morning and be able to go out on your back porch and have your coffee and, your breakfast, whatever, and some lemonade. I just love it. I love the weather and the options that we have. So many options. We can go to the beach, we can hang out at various places, the malls and so on.
The outlet mall in Orlando.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So many of those. I really don't care too much anymore for I shouldn't say it, like the Disney and so on. I don't do that as much as I used to.
You've probably done it, meant like all of you.
I'm over it.
You probably don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many times you've done it with family and friends, right? Right, guys?
Yes. When they come, they expect you to take them. I'm like, oh, not again, But I really love it here.
All right.
And
Mia?
Yeah, that's all I got to say.
What do you absolutely love about living in Central Florida?
I think for me is connecting with my culture, because now my granddaughter's at an age that she goes places with me, so she gets to see the different cultures and that upbringing when you can't be in the Caribbean. So I love sharing that side of of me to her, as she gets older.
Okay. And Wayne, what do you absolutely love?
Well, Central Florida to me has a suburb feel to it. That's really why we left New York to come to Central Florida and not really had ventured all the way down to South Florida. And it's also still virgin territory for us as Jamaicans to keep establishing ourselves. I see opportunities here that we can take advantage of as Jamaicans and as a community. And there's the opportunity also for more growth. It's not more of the same. We can be pioneers here. And I thank God for those people who came before us, because believe it or not, I met a Jamaican lady who has been in Central Florida for over almost 70 years. She came straight from Jamaica to Central Florida, and hopefully I'll be able to document her story just to let them know what it was like moving here back then and comparing it to now for those of us who are following in her footsteps.
Wow. I can imagine that she probably had no patty shop there. She had no place to go pick up some yellow yam, or get or even, well, no mangoes. okay, I guess I have to ask this question. Some people tell me that mangoes will grow. You just have to know how to take care of it and what to do when that cold front come in. And so one of you, somebody, is it true that you can actually grow a mango tree there in Central Florida?
Absolutely, absolutely. My mother, she's deceased, but her backyard, she has this huge mango tree. It's full of mangoes. So
What?
absolutely, yes,
And
full
it
of mangoes.
survives. It survives the
Well, yeah,
winter.
it survived, and it's big too. You know, the squirrels eat
Wow.
a lot of
Yeah,
it, but
yeah,
yeah,
I've heard different stories. So
yeah.
Wayne, you have
Yes.
somebody's mango tree you can raid. You can go stone mango.
Well, I have ackee, I have pear, and I have mango, but they're in my backyard. But the thing is, they
Mhm.
go from my neighbor's yard over into my yard. So whatever comes over my fence belongs to
It's
me.
yours.
I had a friend, and I know he was a true friend. In the early years, he was trying to grow this mango tree, and he actually built a house over the mango tree to preserve it from the squirrels and the winter. And eventually, when it uh, bore mangoes, it bore two mangoes, and he gave me one. So I
That's a
know
good
that
friend.
he was a true friend. But now, Xavier, I must tell you that there are people with mangoes dropping off your trees left, right, and center in Central Florida. So that's
Yeah.
how
Wow.
much we've pollinated the
Yes.
area, so to speak. So now we're seeing mango trees.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing because at one point, again, I used to hear can't no, they won't grow there. They'll start, but as soon as that cold front come in, boom, they're done for.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that. But to your story, Wayne, and I know you know, the lady who has been there for all that time. Can you imagine the transformation she has seen? Because truly, you all are not lacking, anything per se. Because there's a shop, there's patty shop, there's Jamaican restaurants, there's events, that happen there. Speaking of events, what are the big events there? I'm gonna start with you, Joan. What are the big events that you enjoy, Caribbean, Jamaican events that you enjoy there in Central Florida?
Well, I have to plug our event. It's the Jamaican American Association's banquet. It is
All
off
right.
the chart. And
Okay.
last year, I mean, we got so many beautiful compliments. This year, I'm expecting even more, considering you will be one of our speakers. I know we're going to get even more clout from that. So yes, that is very special to me. I look forward to that every year. And
Awesome.
you're all invited. Attorney Wayne, you heard it here from me. Special
Neil,
invitation.
what is some of the Caribbean, Jamaican events that you enjoy there in Central Florida?
Man, the Orlando Jerk Festival. They have
Okay.
one in
Yes,
Claremont,
okay
and
too.
then they have one here in Central Florida. So the two biggest, and besides Carnival, because all my Jamaicans gonna be at Carnival anyway. We're gonna, wine up and enjoy some music and some good food.
Wayne, what about you?
Well, for me, I'll tell you, because of COVID, we've not been able to do some of the things that we were able to do in the past. But I really enjoyed those town hall meetings that we used to have as a community. We're hoping to get those restarted, and also bringing in folks from all over, including Jamaica, to speak with us and to let us know what's happening on the ground. And of course, using those events for our folks to meet people that they ordinarily would not be able to meet otherwise. We've been able to host Mrs. Manley here. We've been able to host the council generals here. So it's those kind of community events that I treasure. The ones that really have quality and is a benefit to our community. And it's not just going there to meet somebody. It's going there to display our achievements and our great achievers. So hopefully we will get back into that mode since we're able to free ourselves from this whole COVID prisoner type situation we're in for the last 3 years. But
All right.
Central Florida is hot and it's happening. So, we hope that you guys from South Florida will understand that the trip from South Florida to Central Florida is actually the same distance as Central Florida to South Florida.
All right. So, I'm going to, switch up just a little bit, and ask this question. So, if someone was coming to Central Florida, what would be that event or attraction or thing you would say you must do if you're coming to Central Florida? I'm going to start with you, Joan.
I particularly enjoy the Bob Marley in Universal, so that's something I'd recommend because the atmosphere there is usually very good. The music is good. They have good bands and so on. So I enjoy it there. So that's one place I would do. But to
Okay.
go back, sorry, can I go back to the ball?
Yes.
Not only do we have a ball and a banquet, we also give scholarships. So that's why it's so very, very important to me. Because as the president of the Jamaican American Association, it gives me pleasure to do something to help a young person at a time when they may need it to go through higher education. So I don't want to forget that. That's a very important part of our banquet. We
All right.
also give scholarships.
Awesome. Awesome. Wayne, you're on mute, Wayne.
Yes, for me, I would recommend two things. I would recommend that folks visit the Wells Bills Museum, which is downtown Orlando, which is a Black History museum, which really kind of documents the history of Central Florida and how far we're coming from the days of segregation, where Black entertainers used to come to the city and they couldn't stay in certain places. This museum is curated and managed by a current senator, um, Florida State Senator. Her husband is also a judge here in Orlando, and they've tried to maintain that history because this was a hotel that is the only place Black people could stay once they came here, entertainers, whoever, and it represents a dark part in Central Florida history. But for those who come in, they need to see that to appreciate where we are today compared to what was going on back then. I will also encourage them to visit the town of Eatonville, which is the first Black incorporated town uh, in the United States and was the home of Zora Neale Hurston, who was a constant visitor to Jamaica. And she wrote some great literary pieces over time. So those are the two interested places, other than the old Disney thing and all of that stuff. As Joan said, it's kind of played out, but there are some gems here in Central Florida.
It's played out for you all, but some of us who visit sometimes and other people, they're waiting for the new installation from this movie of this particular part of the theme park. I'm a Star Wars guy, so I'm like, okay, I haven't been to the Star Wars part yet. But I get it. I get if I live there, it is like it's the same thing. Mia, what would you suggest?
Well, they stole my answers there as well. Yeah, I love Bob Marley. Same thing with Wayne Golden, what he said, in Eatonville as well. That town's very educational, and also they just recently built a multicultural center that is on the corner. I think it's on Hiawassee and Silver Star. I haven't sure if it's open yet, but that's another great place. And just get in touch, whatever culture you're from, Jamaican, get in touch with your Jamaican organization and attend one of the meetings, so that you can stay linked, whether, you don't live here, but you go home. We do virtual meetings, so you can always come on and see what we're doing and follow us on Facebook,
So folks, you're hearing this, all of these folks, Google, search them on social media. You know, they have town halls. They have an association, a Jamaican American association. If you're thinking of heading to Central Florida, these are resources and people that you can talk to, reach out to, and have them connect you. If they can't answer the question, they can connect you with other people who can give you information about living there. All right, I got two more questions. One is, this is living, if I'm moving there, what's that one piece of advice that you wish somebody had given you before you had moved to Central Florida? Or it could be just the one piece of advice you're giving anyone. And I'll talk with you, Joan, first.
I'm trying to think. Okay, perhaps I should have known, but the critters that are here, the insects, the various animals, I wasn't quite prepared for.
Okay.
I'm not keen on the frogs. I'm not keen on the lizards.
Okay.
I definitely do not like the snakes, and the bugs. Oh my goodness, the huge bugs. Yes, they had cockroaches in New York, but I'd never seen anything like these. So those things, they're just annoying more than anything. And praise God, I've never really confronted a snake, a live one. I'm blessed, because I don't know what I would do. I'd probably pass out.
The critters. Mia, what's that one piece of advice or one thing you wish people had warned you about?
The humidity. I know Jamaica is hot, but this heat, Lord Jesus, and the hurricane. Them two right there is I think the hurricane I can handle, because at least you can get prepared. But this heat is, I try not even to go out, unless I really have to, because when you walk out even barefoot, you would actually burn up your feet on that concrete, or you could just feel the heat burning off your skin, so yeah, the heat.
I gotta say this. I don't know. Orlando have a different type of hot than the South Florida hot sometimes. I don't know. Yeah. Yes.
You're gonna find out August.
Air conditioning.
Well, for me, and this is more directed at the younger folks who want to move. Two, you got to check out the job market really well. And second, the school zone for your kids. So important to know what area you're moving into and what kind of school district you're moving into. So those are the two important things, I think, for younger people who are moving or want to move here to Central Florida. The economy, really, you need to figure out how you're going to fit into this economy, because it's quite different from South Florida. It's quite different from New York. It's quite different from Atlanta. And especially if you're non-skilled, you have to make sure that if you're coming into this community, that you do have a skill that's needed, and you get well paid for it, because they're good paying jobs here. It's just that some people don't know about it, or they don't get exposed to it. Right. But from what I can see from dealing with some of my clientele and some of the corporate people, there are certainly some good jobs here. It's just that they're hidden sometimes. Right. So again, those are the two important things I think you should look at in terms of moving here to Central.
Right. Winding down, what do you miss the most about Jamaica? We'll start with you, Mia.
Family, the culture, just, the history, when you listen to, the old folks, and, takes you back. And look here, I know we get Caribbean food here, but Jamaica, let me tell you. But I think the most is the culture, and just, getting in tune, with your family, connecting back with your family. Because I'm all about family.
Joan?
Jamaica. I miss the vibe. There's just something different about Jamaica. You can get mangoes here. You can get sunshine here. You can get our music, the food, everything. But there's a special vibe in Jamaica that you have to be in Jamaica to understand, to feel, and to sense. And I can prove that. There's a friend of mine who I met in Barbados, and she loved Barbados. And then she went to work in Jamaica, and she said, Joan, why didn't you tell me? She said, it's just the vibe here is so different. The atmosphere, yes, we have our issues. We have our problems, but there is something just so beautiful about Jamaica. It's just in my spirit and in my soul. What can I tell you? I miss it. But we can go on
Wayne?
that helps.
Well, for me, as you know, I used to travel back to Jamaica pretty often, at least once every 2 months before COVID. And COVID has taught me about the simpler things in life. As far as Jamaica, what I miss most is freedom, the freedom that you enjoy in Jamaica. We see what's happening here in the United States, and we might feel that we're in a better economic position, better position with healthcare and all of that stuff. But when it comes to your freedom as a Jamaican in your own country, there's nothing that can replace that. And I also miss not having to explain myself to people, to explain where I'm from and the greatness of our people. And this is not our first rodeo. We're very experienced in leading ourselves, in fending for ourselves. It's just that opportunities are a little better here, but you have that sacrifice for the opportunity, and the sacrifice again is freedom. Jamaica, you can paint your house any color you choose to.
All right, so winding down, here's a scenario. You land in Jamaica and you get off the plane. What's that first thing that you're doing when you touch down and you leave the airport? I'll start with you, Joan.
What's the first thing I'm doing? I'm just smiling. I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat. I'm just so happy to be there. I missed last year, but we've been going the last few Christmases before that. So spending Christmas in Jamaica is just different. It's beautiful. And I just get off so excited. I just don't care about anything except to know I'm here. I'm home. So
yeah, what's that first thing you're doing once you land?
Man, just smelling the air like I've arrived. And just because I know family, they're gonna have food, everything. I don't care. I'm just here. So
none of you have said so far,
I can't selfish.
I'm grabbing this food or I'm grabbing this. So let's hear Wayne. What Wayne? The first thing Wayne doing? You're mute, Wayne. Go ahead. I got you.
Every time I land in Jamaica, I feel like I've escaped from somewhere. And when you see the silhouette of Jamaica, you feel like it's Christmas time as a child. So for me, if I land in Montego Bay, I'm headed straight to Scotch's for some jerk chicken. If I land in Kingston, I can't wait to get to the Harborview roundabout to get to coconut jelly. But my feeling when I get to Jamaica is I'm always worried that my time is very short. Because when I'm leaving Jamaica, it feels like when you're a kid, you did something wrong and your parents know, so when you go home, you're going to get a beating. So you get that feeling in the knot of your stomach. So for me, I look forward to the next time going back every time. But when I land there, I feel like I'm home.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Joan, Wayne, Mia, thank you very much for spending some time with us and telling us your story and a little bit about Central Florida. Folks, again, these are people that are knowledgeable on the area, lived in the area for years. They're involved in organizations, Caribbean organizations, Caribbean media. Wayne is an attorney. Reach out to them, Google them, look them up on LinkedIn, and follow them. All right, guys, little more.
Take care. Walk good.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Blessings. Thank you.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.